This is The Metro on WDET. I'm Tia Graham. Detroit and art go hand in hand. It's held in the same regard as the automotive industry as one of the city's greatest exports. But unlike the auto and manufacturing industries, the work can be a lot less stable, the recognition can be less visible, and the pay, inconsistent. Funding for arts at the federal level was cut, and state leaders last year considered removing Michigan's funding. Those choices place a strain on the arts sector and people who work in them. So, for an artist in Metro Detroit that is striving to make life here, where does that leave them? How are artists supported here, and is it enough? These are tough questions to wrestle with, but I am confident my two guests will offer great insight into them. Sydney James is a fine artist and muralist, and Halima Cassells is an interdisciplinary artist. Sydney and Halima, welcome back to the Metro.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Tia.
Of course, and this conversation is pretty heavy, but we're going to make sure we work through it. So typically we are taught early in life that one does not make any money as an artist, the starving artist conversation. So Halima, beginning with you, what was your experience, especially early on? Did you ever think that, like, I can do this full time?
Yes, I did. And I thank Detroit for that because, you know, growing up here, I grew up in a community full of artists, from my Aunt Marion Stevens to going to your Heritage House and being taught by Habiba Owens when I was like 6.
That's amazing.
Right? Like, I thought it was normal to be around artists, to be around musicians, to be in a creative space. And yes, that kind of like, well, what's your real job going to be? You know, my mom did ask me that a lot. So
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Sydney, similar for you, like growing up, that you always know that this was something that you could do
I have been an artist since I was 3, and I never questioned it. But also, much like Halima, I grew up around artists as well. Like, my aunt was a graphic designer, and even growing up, like, it would be paintings, like, from her college classes just around her room. This is my Aunt Kathy, who I'm often with all the time. She is my person. But even at church, and my dad could draw, he would like doodle all the time. But even at church, though, our organist was Ruth Goins, and Ruth Goins, I found out Sabrina Nelson even knows her. Like, she's passed on now, but she was a sculptor. And she used to sell her sculptures for like $800.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, and then we had Betty Keys at my church as well, who used to do these beautiful watercolor classes. And then they could sew, and they used to make all of the decorations for the church. So literally, it was never a question in my mind. And I started taking classes at CCS when I was 7.
Wow.
And that's actually how she and I met.
Yep.
I was 13 and she was 11. So we met as children, as young artists.
At CCS.
At CCS.
Yep. But I'm going to tell you something else. And I think this is probably true for you. I didn't get punished for drawing on the walls.
Same. I got permission.
And so when I hear you both have this connection. I mean, 11 and 13, you guys go way back like 4 flats on the Cadillac type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
You guys go way, way back. So thinking about that time and having this different experience, I won't even say different experience, but being immersed with arts and culture within your household, but then also pursuing it outside of the household. How do you see, what was Detroit like in that time when we talk about arts for young people? Because you all had space to do and to explore and to grow. I'm wondering if the young people have that same space to grow. We're going to start with you, Sydney.
I feel like I'll go to the past first. I feel like back then we had so many free art events.
Yes.
Like we had the Festival of the Arts.
Yes.
Even the African World Festivals. Like every weekend of the summer. All of the festivals downtown. Like electronic music festival. All of that was free, and it always included art. Like literally always. You get like a $3 whack print. You can get a Leroy Foster print. Like it was always, it might not be originals. We might not have grown up with necessarily original artwork or learning like the importance of collecting and all of that stuff, but we always had it.
We always had beautiful poster prints of Detroit artists from all of those festivals.
Yep.
I knew who Carl Owens was. I knew who Charles McGee was. Like, all of we grew up with this in our household, and I think that had a huge impact.
Yeah.
And we had art in schools.
Which
robust.
We're going to get to arts education,
Yes,
of course, but I want to talk to you both as working artists. It's probably worth, defining the kinds of work the artists we will be talking about. These are creatives that work in corporate professional fields, but then we're also talking about people who work for themselves, who are independent artists. And we're discussing primarily the latter, correct? Right now, we're going to talk about those independent artists. So Halima, once you became a full-time professional artist, what did you learn early on about what it takes to sustain yourself in the business, especially when we talk about doing it in Detroit?
Well, let's see. That's a good question. A full-time professional artist. I don't know that I've
reached that
made
yet.
it to that point, because I will say I feel like I've been hustling for 25 years. Yeah. My mom did encourage me to get a teaching certificate, which I did. And I tried teaching at a high school level for a while, but I really had to pull back, and I started doing arts enrichment programming. And so, that was kind of like semester by semester, project by project. And so that's how like my arts and education kind of melded into like after school, summer programs, summer camps, things like that. And I started my own company doing that. So continuing that type of project-based work, moving forward. But I also, see part of my work as collaborating with other artists, creating shows, creating experiences. Literally, like, there have been so many things, consulting on projects. I'm a mom, so chief hairstylist, chef, chauffeur, all that unpaid work. And then I do a lot of, because I feel very grateful to have received grants for some of my projects. Some of my work is volunteer work. Yeah. So doing advocacy work, helping to inform policies around arts, culture, public arts, things like that. So I think my art life and professional life and just actual life in general are just very integrated.
Yeah. Yeah. Similar. Sydney, about being a working professional artist, would you consider yourself a full-time professional artist at this moment?
I've been.
Yeah.
It's kind of a loaded kind of question. Yeah. It's a simple question, but it's loaded because professional artist isn't one thing. Like, there isn't just one art industry. I feel like when people think about art, they think in a one track, like a tunnel vision, like, oh, museums, paintings, sculptures, or a mural. But everything you have on your body is somebody's art job. Every piece of equipment in this room is is a whole industry. It's industrial design. You know what I'm saying? Your shoes, your clothes, your garments, everything about what we do in our daily life started off with somebody's idea and somebody's sketch on a piece of paper. So I started my career in advertising. And so I was doing like commercials, and I started it here, and it was a small Black agency. So I got to do a lot of jobs. So I was going on the commercial shoots. I was going on the photo shoots. And then I later left here, moved to L.A., thinking I was going to sell a cartoon, but not for real.
Think you were going to think
I won't sell a cartoon just based off an idea. I'm not an animator. I was an illustrator. Yeah. And I had a book, and I thought I was going to get rich by this idea, but that's not how, because of course we're Gen X, but we're crossing over that millennial digitization era. So that was an eye-opening situation, but it was a very short-lived dream anyway. But I'm out there in LA, and I ended up getting a job being an artist, a ghost artist for a television show, Lincoln Heights.
Yeah.
So that's an industry too, art for television, set design, and even set design as far as like Broadway plays or plays. And you know what I'm saying? There are so many industries that design and art can take you. You know what I'm saying? So it's not one thing. And I feel like the more that everybody is educated on what art is and what art can be, and how we literally cannot live or exist without it, I feel like it'll be more, like support from the house. Like it won't be, though I feel like though it will lessen the conversations of you need to get a real job. I do have a real job.
Yes. And there's so many auxiliary jobs that the arts support. So just being in the studio with you, we're on air, but there's 4 people over there making sure it gets on the airwaves.
Yes.
So it's like for every aspect in art, there are so many technical roles. There are so many people that are on the team to make whatever happen that the audience sees or hears happen. And I think we definitely need more training and more understanding for our young people to know, like, these are career paths and these are possibilities for you.
And Sydney, as a muralist, can you walk me through as briefly as you can, because we're going to get really, really specific right now, what it takes to complete one mural the size of the girl with the D earring?
Labor, hard labor, and big equipment. COIs, that is certificates of insurance. You need all the insurances. You need the workman's comp. Like, it's literally a job. And it's an industrious job.
Okay, really quickly, Sydney, because, so you're saying you're doing this, you're doing a mural. You have to go through all of those permits. You got to go through this. You got to go through that by yourself.
Yes, or you have a team. I have a team. So I'm, blessed enough to have, to build my career up enough that I have a manager and a project manager. So when I do get those super large jobs, if the budget is right, I can employ her like, hey, come on, so take on this. Like, so it's employing other artists too, because it's a job. Like, yes, I designed it. And yes, I am going to paint on it, but to get it done in a timely fashion, to get it done effectively, and where I'm still saving my body and everybody else is saving their bodies, but also putting money in other people's pockets. My muse, my workers, my, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're artists, they're other artists, but they're also laborers. They're my laborers. So I have to, pay them. And then that comes with them, the 1099s and knowing how to, like, the tax codes and your responsibilities and paying. So it's an industry. It's an industry.
Listening to this right now, Sydney, I mean, of course, you understand, there's this idea. It's hard work, of course. You're putting hard work out, both, Halima as well. Like, you guys are putting in work, hard work. Yeah, no, I didn't even think about I guess you can say the paperwork that goes into it, the paperwork aspect, the office work aspect of the creative work that you're doing. You got to get permits and tax forms and oh my goodness.
And make sure everybody else that's working is covered.
Yep.
And I'll add even another layer of paperwork. So we had been in some community benefits conversations with the previous owner of that building. And as an artist, I think this is one of the very beautiful ways that we can walk in many different worlds at once. Because Sydney said, hey, what is going on? Like, what is going on in the community? What are people saying and what's happening? And so being able to be a person to have that conversation and then say, well, what do you want me to include in the contract? And so we were able to create a community benefits agreement with that contract, with that owner of the building as a part of this process so that they know, okay, this is a community that's been here for over 100 years. There are people here living and working. Can you please know who's here? Can you please
respect who's here?
Yeah, respect. And that's, kind of like the essence of what my advocacy has been in over the last decade in Detroit. And I think that's what's missing on so many levels is the respect. And as artists, we are able to really bring that conversation to the forefront. And I'm just so grateful that, Sydney was like, what you want? What we putting in here? What we talking about? What's going on? And having those kind of like like you said, work, like those meetings, all of that labor that is unseen, but it's a lot to talk to a lot of people, to be involved in community meetings. How many community meetings have you been to over the last 5 years?
I don't know, because I count me going to the park. That ain't even in my neighborhood, going to a community meeting.
Right, because you're talking to people.
Yeah, like I feel like it's a beat up every time we interact. Because also I'm the friend that never meets strangers. So
right.
But I want to ask you both, because Halima, you're talking about that respect. What does that respect look like to you?
Oh, girl,
asking people what they need. and actually delivering,
listening,
mm-hmm.
and delivering, like you said. So, for example, if you go to New York, if you go to LA, and we actually both went in opposite directions.
Yep, because I lived in LA and she was living in New York.
Yep. But why do people go there? Their cities have infrastructure for artists. They respect all levels of artists and team members, and it's recognized because they have a budget that's allocated towards all of these different things that strengthen their ecosystem. Somebody said, like, everywhere you go, you see a Detroiter, right?
It's true.
We're looking for infrastructure.
Yeah.
Detroiters walk around with a ton of genius.
Mm-hmm.
You walk,
and confidence,
genius, confidence, abilities.
Ingenuity,
everybody can sing.
All of the itties.
My plumber's in a band,
right?
My mailman's in a band. So like, we're not short on genius. Yeah. We're not short on resilience.
Yeah,
we need actual infrastructure. East Lansing has a program that's a percent for arts. Any new development, they're putting a percentage into a public pot for arts in East Lansing. Marquette, even though it's like a 30th of the size of Detroit, it's still the largest city in the UP. They have a dedicated line item in their city budget.
Halima, I want you to hold that note for a moment, because we're going to go to a quick break, because we are going to talk a little bit more about other cities, what we're seeing happening across the country, our state, and what we're seeing from the government as well. So we're going to get into that a little bit later, but you're listening to The Metro on 1019 WDET. I'm Tia Graham. My guests are artists Sydney James and Halima Cassells. We are discussing the lived reality of working in the arts sector here in the city of Detroit, and we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll discuss just how artists find support in the city. This is The Metro. This is The Metro on 1019 WDET. I'm Tia Graham, and I'm discussing the art sector in the city of Detroit with artists Sydney James and Halima Cassells. And before we went to break, we were talking just a little bit about some of the models that you're seeing from across different cities across the state, from East Lansing to Marquette. What is that model that you're seeing with East Lansing and Marquette that you would like to see mirrored here in the city?
A line item in the budget, in the city budget for arts and culture. And I think something else that we were looking at that was really cool is like a wage in New York. There's a floor. There's a standard. There's understanding kind of some of the navigating of what Sydney was just speaking of and creating a mural. Some of that is already prepackaged and ready for artists to have available, to know how to navigate and know that you will be paid what you're worth. Here's the minimum wage, if you will, for working on a mural or working on a film set or a radio set. So kind of having that, again, like, it's not all bricks and mortar infrastructure, but it's like an understanding you will be taken care of. Here's how to get this insurance. Here's the bottom of what we're paying, and here's our range for these projects. And we used to have something very comprehensive with the Detroit Council of the Arts here prior to the bankruptcy. So like all those folks working on those free festivals, like that was part of our arts and culture programming that was funded by public funds in the city of Detroit. So it's not even like far-flung, crazy ideas.
Yeah. And Sydney, we just think about public support. Once again, we're talking about the city's report or government support. How does support from the city or state impact an artist's works? Like, what does it look like? Does it improve your work, or you know what I mean?
Now you either got it or you don't. But it can improve your experience working, and it can improve your work in ways because you can, if you have the proper funding, you have the proper equipment, you can buy the proper paint. Like you don't have to do the oops paint or or like the cheapest product just to get something up there. You can actually buy something quality that's going to be long lasting and archival. And honestly, I would think whether you're a private owner or even a city like that is commissioning these things through even their City Walls programs, which is still not city funded. I think they have to raise philanthropic dollars for even that program. And they've been a huge support of artists, a big support of artists for the last, since 2018?
They say about 6 years they've been back since they left the operation. So, yeah.
I feel like, I don't know if you guys are Abbott Elementary fans.
Yes.
Did you watch the last episode?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry I'm about to spoil it for you. You know how they're in the school in the mall right now, okay? And it ain't fair. They're making it work so well, the kids are getting better grades, right? And all this other stuff. But it still ain't like, when are we going to get back into the school? Well, no, we're just going to give you PR about how great you're doing at your job. Yeah. And then we're going to fix all of these other schools first, because now we see that, this is a problem citywide. So, but you guys are comfortable here because you're making it work so well. We're going to keep you here and we're going to fix everybody else first. And then, like, I feel like the analogy that came up at the end of the show was, we're getting treated like the good student or the good employee. You know how the good student or the good employee always are rewarded, awarded, whatever, with more work, more strenuous tasks just because you can get it done. I feel like that's Detroit as the city.
You know what else it is? It is the double-edged sword of resilience.
Yes.
Oh, y'all making it work? Okay.
We'll keep making it work.
Keep making it work.
Yeah.
You don't actually need nothing. Y'all good.
Yep.
And on one hand, actually, because of our creative genius and resilience, okay, we have made it work. But
it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. And at some point, exactly what you're saying, you gonna stop fighting for crumbs and look up and say, well, who got the pie? Where's the pie at?
Because we know we've been baking it. We've been here cooking.
Right.
So thinking about what you're saying as a citywide, it's across the city. You can see it hustling harder. People are really trying to make it work with what they have, make do with what they have. Do you have any expectations for Mayor Sheffield and her administration? We're going to start with you, Halima.
Yes, I am so excited for Mayor Sheffield's administration. Yeah. 100%. She has come in showing that she cares about Detroiters, our seniors, our children, having a very inclusive process for putting out this survey and trying to understand what people need. Sydney and I are both members on the Arts and Culture Committee for the Transition Team. Yeah. And put forth a lot of really good ideas that I'm looking forward to seeing how they get implemented. And in terms of arts and culture specifically, she is committed to reinstating the Detroit Council of the Arts. And so I'm very hopeful that there will be a lot more robust infrastructure built over, even the first year of her administration.
Because it's, based on listening to both of you talk right now, there was a blueprint, and you just want to bring that blueprint back to the forefront so that artists have some type of checklist they can go through, or some type of list they can go through, they can actually survive. Same thing to you, Sydney. What do you hope for this new administration with Mayor Sheffield?
Much like Halima, I'm really excited. First of all, she's from Detroit.
Yeah.
So, like, she's really a Detroit galley. You know what I'm girly? You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited just for that. Because I feel like when you're actually from the soil, especially when you're a woman from the soil, you want to take care of the garden. You want to and then you want it to grow even further. And I feel like she has the right. I'm sorry. My apologies for the brain fog.
No worries at all. I'm having yes.
I feel like she has the right intentions, even just formulating the committee for the transition team and all of these different walks of life, because it's like 15 of us and we're all different. So, and just a side note, I really encourage all of your listeners, please take the survey. When you receive the survey, however you receive the survey, it can come digitally on your phone, it can come via your email or in the mail. Please take the surveys, because part of the surveys too, job is to do is really inform. It's not just to ask you questions, but it's also to inform you about the importance of what it is that artists do, what we do, and why it's important to reinstate these things. Because of course, it's easy to get complacent as a regular citizen or as a regular person that I go to work, I gotta pay, I got these jobs, I got these bills to pay, so that's my focus. I don't care about no art, but you do. Because if a new mural pops up or a new sculpture or something that you're not familiar with, it's gonna change your day. You know what I'm saying? It's like the difference between going to Henry Ford, Maine, and going across the street to the Cancer Center where there's paintings, like original works, prints, and you know what I'm saying? It feels much better in there. Or going to like a children's hospital. Like it's a big difference. Really, all hospitals should be designed like children's hospitals.
It's actually
you know
beautiful.
what I mean? So it's, I really feel like she has the right intentions, and I feel like the more she builds her team around her to support those intentions and figure out how to really build this infrastructure, I feel like she can have much success. And
she has experience.
Yes.
As our council president, she brought so much to the table. And, as a member of council, she even commissioned a study a few years ago around what would an entertainment tax look like and how could that help to fund arts and culture in the city, and that report, just came out maybe about a couple months ago, but it looks very promising. It looks like a good way to support arts and culture in the city. And I'm happy to share the link with you and the listeners, from that study.
Definitely send that over when we're done. We'll put that on the web post, so when people go to listen to the conversation, listen back, learn more, they can have access to what you're talking about right now. Halima, is merging your industry, the arts industry, more with Detroit's businesses an avenue that you all would like to explore for a more sustainable future for artists? So, for example, collaborations with businesses or finding ways to directly work with this business on different art projects and community outreach projects as well.
So, yes, I'm definitely open to working with businesses. I think that many artists are in many different ways, right? We have product placement inside of shows or inside of, these other areas. We have, designer labels putting art on shoes or hats or what have you. And yes, I think that's awesome. I think that when art is just in service of retail or just in service of real estate, then something switches because the logic of the market takes precedence over, what is the artist's intent. And so I think, there's a balance. There's things that have to be understood and put out there. And I think artists should definitely flex whatever you are making, know why you're making it and make it abundantly clear. And then artists also have the opportunity to not do something, and that speaks loudly, you know what I mean? So I think walking with your principles, being about what you're making and who you are, no matter where you are, is important. However, I think the return on investment in public art extends far beyond business.
Yeah.
Because if you're making something cool, which Detroiters have done for the world for 50 or 60 years at least, people will come, and then there's spillover effects. So when people are investing in art, you're also investing in restaurants, transportation, babysitters. Like, you're also investing in a lot of other hotels, Airbnbs, you know, like other artists. Like, somebody sees you in a group show and they're saying, oh, wow, well, who is this? Or they're hearing something for the first time on maybe YG's show and they're like, let me go find out more about this artist, you know? So I think there's so many ripple effects that cannot be measured in the same way that just sales at a counter, you know, retail could be. And I think, you know, the value of arts really extends far beyond even what we can measure with sales.
And you know, we are already down to the end of our conversation, getting down to the end of our conversation. I know.
We didn't get into it all the way.
I know, but it's so much to talk to. Like we said, it's such a hefty topic that it's like you have to go through it with a fine-tooth comb to actually get through every single thing. But I do really want to talk about solutions that we can see happening. I know there are things that we can do, and we've sprinkled it. You've both sprinkled it throughout the conversation, solutions to some of the struggles that artists are facing right now in the city of Detroit, the infrastructure or lack thereof for support for artists. So, you know, now that we've outlined some of these experiences, what does it take for some artists right now to thrive in the city with what we have? And we're going to start with you, Sydney.
Other artists.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we've been thriving.
Yeah.
That's how we've been able to. I feel like the artists, like the Charlie McGee's, the Glendon Dowdells, the Leroy Fosters, I feel like they paved the road, right? Mm-hmm. They paved the road, and I'll even say they built the building structure. Mm-hmm. For us to create the doors and the actual rooms and tables for us to sit at. Mm-hmm. You know, and I feel like once we recategorize artists as the science and engineers that we are, because we were recategorized in the mid to late 19th centuries during the height of the Industrial Revolution, which is, of course, fueled by capitalism. You know, they remarketed us as artists. They separated us from industry because we had too much power. So I feel like if we re-educate, that's part of it too, that we are the industry. Every industry literally starts with us.
With the design.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we could build the infrastructure confidently, or we could build up people's confidence in the arts and in what we do to support it without having to have awkward conversations
awkward
so
conversations.
What's your real job?
Yeah. But awkward conversations are necessary.
Oh, uncomfortable conversations are necessary. Yes.
And it's going to take that.
Yeah.
Being in a conversation, figuring out what real value is at the end of late stage capitalism.
Right.
Yes, we need funding. Yes, we need to be paid. But the bottom line is there has to be respect. We have to respect each other. We have to respect our crafts. We have to respect all of the things that bring us value. You know, in the interim of whatever we're moving into next, because we need our imaginations. We need our babies to have their imaginations on full blast so that we can help fine-tune the skills and the confidence to bring us into this new place.
We have literally 2 minutes left, so I want to ask this one question. It's going to be tough to get through this question, but I do want to talk about the future because you're talking about the future right now. And ultimately, when we're looking forward to whatever is going to be born out of whatever happens after, you know, so many different things that are happening in this world. I'm talking around what's happening in the world right now. But how are you telling artists to tighten up with the future generations? How are you telling them to tighten up, lock in? We have to make sure that we're in stride for using art to transition us into a new era. So how do you see that happening?
It's our job to tell the truths of the time.
Yes, Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
We do not employ other people to tell our stories. Tell our stories the best we can. Honing your craft, draw every day. If it's painting, paint every day, practice every day. If it's color theory every day. Learn something every day and recognize that we are all students of this life and that we ain't moving nowhere forward unless we learning something new and moving to move forward with. You know what I mean? So
yes, that was perfect. Yes.
Tell your story and know your past.
Yep.
Just like you said, all those people that have built structures and made a doorway and put a path down.
Cleety Taylors.
Dr.
The
Cleety Taylor. Thank you. The
Marion
oldest black
Stevens, Shirley
gallery.
Woodson Reeves,
Thank you. Yes.
The NCAs, like all of that made way for the murals in the markets, for the blackout walls, for the everything.
Yes.
We have to continue doing what we've been doing and just do it with by far more purpose.
Yes.
And we can see it. Because I feel like when it started, it was like, oh, this we need this now. But it was no long-term plan because we just need it now. Now we know what is, we can really move and make like a long-term sustainable plan to make this work as long as humanity exists in Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
That's the mic drop right there. Artists Sydney James and Halima Cassells, thank you both so much for joining us on the Metro. We're going to continue this conversation, of course, because we did not get to everything, but we're going to continue to have this conversation and how we can build a more robust arts and culture community in the city of Detroit. So thank you both for joining me today.
And thank you so much for having us. Yes. Thank you.
Coming up, we'll talk with the city's Arts, Culture, and Entrepreneurship Department. You all stay right there. We'll be right back. This is The Metro.